Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia, and the plan for today is to get my reading journal set up for August, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about my August TBR. So let's go ahead and get started with the reading journal portion. Alright, welcome to the reading journal portion. So for August's theme, I decided to use a design that I actually made I feel like a couple of years ago now, and I made it originally as a stained glass pattern, and then I ended up making a digital version, and I thought that it would look really nice in my reading journal, so now I'm trying to do a painted version. So I originally started by mixing a really dark blue color for the background, and I painted a bunch of pieces of paper just like this really dark blue. And then I let that dry, and then I cut out my little squares because they're going to be about the same size as one page in my reading journal. And then I sketched my little design onto there so that I could use it as a reference to paint by. And it was actually a lot harder to sketch out the deer figures than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I was thinking it was going to be so easy, but it was pretty hard to get the proportions sort of the same way that I had them originally. And I think I managed to get the sketches pretty decent in the end. Had to erase a few times, but that's okay. We made it in the end. And then once I had all my sketch done, I'm just mixing a few variations of blue. I started with a pretty dark one to do the trees that are supposed to be in the background, and then I'm just adding bits of white or lighter blue to the paint to lighten it up. And each there's different layers of trees, I guess you would say. So the darkest ones are the back, and then I mixed it slightly lighter for trees that are supposed to be closer, and then lighter again until I reached the lightest color of tree, the trees that are the closest. And I was just going back and forth between each of the paintings because I just ended up using the same pot of paint. As you can see there, I'm just adding paint to that one thing, and I'm not mixing a whole bunch of different colors. And maybe I should have done that way. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It worked out in the end. I did at one point though forget a branch, and then I had already added changed the color of the paint, made it lighter. So I had to end up at one point going back and trying to remix one of the darker colors to fix that, and it kind of worked, but I think it's still kind of pretty obvious. You'll see it later. I think I filmed it. Yeah, definitely it does not quite match. And I made a mistake in another place too, because I had initially intended to tape these papers down so that there would be a white boundary border, I guess, around the edge, but I forgot to do that, and I just painted them all dark blue. But that's okay. I think it works out because there's kind of a white border around it once I tape it into my reading journal, so it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I am just on the last color of tree now, and you can kind of see the effect that I was talking about, where the darker trees sort of fade into the background more, so you get sort of a bit more of a layered effect. And yeah, see, there's that branch that I was talking about. I did manage to get it close-ish, at least enough that it's hard for the camera to tell, but in person you can definitely really tell that it does not match. But now I am moving on to the deer, and I'm not super happy with the way the colors for the deer turned out. They just I think I probably needed, I don't know, it might have been better if I had drawn the deer before I did the background and then painted around it, because now I'm contending against the darkness of the background and having to paint on top of that with these lighter colors. So I was trying to do a thicker layer, but it just made it even harder to stay within the lines. And I think I ended up making them a little too thick. I should have tried to be more precise, because yeah, I think the legs turned out a lot thicker than I really would have intended, and I think I needed to get a smaller brush, because yeah, a lot of the sort of details didn't really work out. And then I probably also needed to go darker with my darkest color on the deer, because I've already changed colors once now, but you really can't tell. I mean, you can tell more in person, but not so much on the video. And I would have liked the darker color to have a little bit more of the greenish tinge that is in the color that I'm working with now, just so that they matched more. But oh well, not much I can do about it now. So yeah, you can especially see on the doe here that the paint job was quite blobby. Like the ears were not meant to be so big, or neither is the tail, and some of the legs are kind of lumpier than was originally planned. And yeah, as you can see there, the head kind of disappears into the color of like the front there, which was not really the plan. Maybe I should go back and add some line work or something, but that's not really, I don't really think that would match with the style that I was going for, really. And then I did end up having to go back and do a second coat for this lightest color just because it was extremely transparent. And then that's possibly also partly because I just have some like cheapy kind of acrylic paints, but yeah, it probably wasn't the best idea to paint where I have to paint like nearly white so dark, because now it just like adds another thing that I have to contend with. And then with the antlers, they were just off white. They were like almost white. And then I painted a few extra little pieces for decoration on the month in review page, and then also I did something for the page's red tracker. And for this one, I'm just having a couple of trees. I'm not gonna try to fit a deer on here. I could do like a really tiny one, but I already had enough trouble painting the details on the deer that were larger, so I don't really know how well that would go. But yeah, I'm just doing a couple colors of trees, some branches, and then this is gonna go on the month in review page. And then I did try to sort of use paint to make a page's red title, but as you can see, it's kind of messy. It doesn't look that good. So I ended up painting another strip of paper, like the pale blue color, and I'm gonna use my stamps to put a title on that. So now I am finally getting into the actual journal, and I'm attaching my paintings. And yeah, as you can see, the deer are kind of messy. And also it was at this point that I realized I forgot to paint the bottom, which is supposed to be like fog. It was originally supposed to be different colors of like white and gray, but I got lazy and I just painted it white. So you could say that it's fog, or I suppose you could say that it's snow. It kind of also looks like snowbanks or something. And I had to do a couple layers on this one too, because obviously it's just white trying to go over that dark color. So I don't know, I kind of feel like only 2 layers to get it pretty well covered was actually not too bad. And then I'm adding in some little yellow dots that are supposed to be fireflies. And then we are going to go and add a title. I kind of messed it up and got the letters a little bit too close together, but it's fine. And then keeping it really simple for the month in review and also the page's red tracker, just a little bit of decoration in the painted bits and some simple titles. I'm not super happy with the page's red title, but it is what it is now. And then I'm just doing my usual little table for my bar graph, and that's everything. All right, welcome back. So I have a pretty decently sized stack for my TBR, so hopefully I will be able to get all of this. But the first book on my TBR is Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb, and this is the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy. And I still have 2 series to read in the Realm of the Elderlings greater series, so I would really like to finish that this year. I kind of read them out of order. Like, I've already read the final trilogy. I read the first one, I read the final one, and then I went back and read Live Ship Traders, so I'm a little bit out of order with this series, but that's okay. I'm still enjoying it. I don't really know what happens in this series. I think Fitz comes out of the sort of retirement that he goes into at the end of the first series, and I assume he reunites with the Fool. So I'm looking forward to that because they have a really interesting relationship dynamic, and if you haven't read any of Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings, I highly recommend it. Next up, I have A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy Lynn. This is just like a YA book that I've heard a lot of people talk about. It's supposed to be like involving magic that's done with tea and a girl who's trying to save her sister, I think. So that should be interesting. It has a really beautiful cover. I think it would be a good one for between some of the bigger books that I have on this pile, just to sort of lighten the reading up a little bit, you know, have something easier, probably fun. This is pretty short, so yeah. I'm excited for this one. Yeah, it's not even 400 pages. Walk in the park, but yeah, I think it could still be good and cute. I haven't read a YA in a while, I don't think. I often have problems with them just not being on the same level as a lot of adult fantasy, but I would like to give some more a try because I know a lot of people love them. All right, next up we have A Day of Falling Night by Samantha Shannon. Unfortunately, I've heard a lot of people say this one's not as good as Priory, and I did have some problems with Priory specifically to do with like the pacing. So we shall see what I think of this one. I like the world and her character work though, so I think that there's still a good chance I will at least enjoy this, even if it's not my favorite book of the year or anything. After that, I have Crossroads of Twilight. This is book 10 of the Wheel of Time. I finished Winter's Heart last month, so I'm really looking forward to continue on with the series. As I said before, I really want to finish Wheel of Time this year, so after this, I'll only have 4 more books to go. So things are looking up. If you notice that my book has this weird like line across the top, it's actually because I managed to get my hands on a whole bunch of like slightly damaged copies for like really cheap. They've all got like this like black mark on the top, and like, yeah, this is like the only like damage, and the book was like, I don't remember how much I paid for this, like $8 maybe, and they're usually like 40. Sorry, this one is normally 30 Canadian dollars, yeah. And I did not pay that much for it, so I'm very pleased with that. And then after that, book 2 of the Wheel of Time. Just to keep things nice and confusing, this is The Great Hunt, book 2, as I said, and I need to read this to continue the series I started in July of summarizing every book of the Wheel of Time. So far, I've only done the first one, so after the first one comes the second one. So yeah, that's why I need to read this, but I'm looking forward to it because I think I've forgotten a lot of things that happen in like the beginning books, so it's useful to like remind myself, and then when I'm reading these, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing happened, and now I remember it more, so that will be good. And then finally, I have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This one has been on my radar for a while. I've heard that it's kind of no plot, just vibes, which could be good because a lot of these are going to be probably pretty plot heavy, so this will be a different sort of vibe, mood to shake it up. I'm also reading this for a specific video that I'm not sure when it will be coming out because I have to wait on some other books from my library for that still, so who knows when that will come, but when it does. Night Circus. All right, so that is my whole TBR for the month of August and my reading journal setup. This is maybe a bit ambitious of a TBR. There are quite a few long books in here, but I have faith, or at least I don't care if I don't finish them. It's not the end of the world. I'm not like, as I definitely said before, I'm not that strict on my TBR. I just kind of like, these are the books that like would be nice to read this month, but if I go off and read something else, like, who cares? I'll get to them eventually. So, especially since most of these books actually are mine. The only one that's a library book is this one. So, other than that, I can really read these anytime. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is what I would like to get to this month. So, yeah. But that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.